The world of Pacific Rim is about humanity coming together to build mechs that can fight on par with giant kaijus that were genetically engineered by alien conquerors. Gamera is about a genetically engineered monster built by a fallen civilization to protect the Earth. I thought, what if that same genetically engineered monster built to protect humanity has to then take on other monsters built to destroy humanity, becoming humanity's last hope against the kaiju. So for this video, I'll be talking about if Heisei Gamera can take on every kaiju from the Pacific Rim films. I'll specifically be using Heisei Gamera. If you see my video on the ranking of the versions of Gamera from the weakest to strongest, you'd see how surprisingly strong Heisei Gamera really is. And we're definitely not using Todo, who won't be able to take on a category 1. This video will be a bit different from my other power scaling videos. The last one was ranking weakest to strongest, and my other two were just versus matches. But for here, Gamera will essentially be running a gauntlet with the Pacific Rim kaijus, all the way from category 1 to category 5, with all the kaijus from both Pacific Rim movies. Yes, the one we don't talk about. It's going to be a similar format to the movies, where he takes them on in the settings of the movie, like fighting Knifehead by himself in the ocean, fighting Otachi and Leatherback in Hong Kong, etc. It's not going to be them just jumping him. The kaijus are ranked in size and strength with categories, from category 1 to category 5. Each kaiju being stronger and usually larger than the one before it. So I'll be ranking every kaiju we've seen in the films and talking about if Gamera can beat that kaiju until he makes it to category 5, being Raijin, Slattern, and the Mega-Kaiju. Starting off with Trespasser, the first kaiju to ever appear in Pacific Rim, being a category 1. Gamera easily beats him. Trespasser needed 3 nuclear missiles to take him down. A nuclear attack is usually a city level attack. Gamera in the comics, which are canon to the Heisei trilogy, fought and beat Zigra, a kaiju who was awoken by nuclear testing and seemed to be completely unfazed. After being knocked unconscious by him, Gamera was struck with a nuclear missile, which only woke him up from his nap and just made him angry. So if he can casually tank a city level attack and beat a monster who can casually tank them as well, which of course means he needed many times that power to beat him, then he should have no issue beating Trespasser. Now I do want to get this out of the way first. I won't be downplaying the lower categories. These kaijus are still pretty tough. The drift appeared in the Challenger Deep, 10,971 meters deep. Being able to withstand existing in this area and swimming all the way up with no damage is a feat itself. Being underwater, the more you swim down, the more weight of the water is on top of you. That's the pressure. On the website Versus Compendium, which has multiple calcs for Pacific Rim feats, this would equate to at least town level durability, which is 27,391 tons of TNT. This is casual town level durability for essentially the smallest and weakest kaiju. But wait, there's more. Trespasser was reported as being the epicenter of a 7.1 magnitude earthquake. That's 673 kilotons of TNT, being large town level. There are the 3 nuclear missiles used to kill him. This should put him at city level as well. This is essentially the baseline for the power level of the kaijus and the Jaegers, since of course the Jaegers have more attack potency than nuclear missiles. Category 1s are the weakest kaiju, and every kaiju made after Trespasser is supposed to be stronger than him. Category 4 is supposed to upscale Category 1, but really not that much. The only Category 2s we've seen are Onibaba and Ragnarok. We can maybe put the Category 2s at around mountain level. Either way, Gamera still does decimate them quite easily. He literally woke up mad from being knocked out by a nuclear missile and beat a kaiju that tanked them casually. There's still really no competition. Up next is Category 3 and 4 Class Kaiju, and this is when Gamera's going to have to start getting serious. The main categories we've seen are Knifehead, Yamarashi, Mutavor, Leatherback, Otachi, Raiju, and Scunner from Pacific Rim, with Akuja and Shrikethorn from Uprising. Something about Gamera which many people can consider a weakness is simply his size. He's not a large kaiju. He's only 80 meters tall and weighs a shockingly 120 metric tons. But to be honest, I don't really take this as a fact. His predecessor Todo is smaller than him and weighs 300 tons. He's way too big to be 120 tons. So there's calculations putting him around 25,000 tons, which just makes a lot more sense. I'm going to include both Category 3 and 4 since the only living Category 3 we saw was Knifehead. Yamarashi was only mentioned as being killed by Gypsy Danger, so we don't have anything on him really. I put Category 3s and 4s around mountain level to island level. Gypsy Danger was able to survive Striker Eureka's detonation a good distance away. Striker Eureka's explosion does have multiple low ends to high ends of TNT output, which I will be talking about soon, but there are consistent calculations that the energy output Gypsy Danger survived was island level, and since Knifehead can cut through Gypsy's body, with Leatherback being able to fight on par with him, along with scaling the other category 4s with each other, they rank around mountain to island level. This is the time for Gamera to not rely on his fireballs and fight more serious. In my previous video, you would know that Heisei Gamera scales a lot higher than mountain and island level, which is usually the consistent power level many people have for him. But still, Gamera is the type to use more strength the more powerful an enemy is. When he's fighting Gauss, he's at first fighting with his long-range fireballs, then physically if he has to, then absorbs a town level explosion to one-shot the Gauss. When he's fighting Legion, he's fighting with the fireballs, then fighting physically, then using his mana beam. The same is said for Iris, but that time using his banishing fist. What I'm saying is, Gamera is still going to beat the category 4s. Not easily, but he still is going to win. You may think of the feat of Gamera taking the Sendai explosion as its max durability, being calculated at mountain to large mountain level, and with, like I said, the category 3s and 4s are usually mountain to island level, so they should win, right? Gamera just barely surviving this explosion is his strongest durability feat, right? Yes and no. It is true that Gamera has not tanked an attack stronger than the Sendai explosion in the Heisei era, but it is not mountain level. Thanks to the calculation from Godzilla King of the Monsters, pulverization was included in this explosion. It already generated a massive earthquake from it and Sendai was just gone. It's confirmed that it would have been much worse if Gamera hadn't intervened either. So this explosion wasn't just large mountain level, it was actually country level in power. Gamera tanked a country level explosion point blank, which would have been much worse if he hadn't intervened, which is so much more than any feat that any category 4 has done. It seems like the only category 4 who will put up a challenge to Gamera is Otachi, strictly because of her acid spit and flight, in which Gamera already has a healing factor and he can easily catch up with Otachi, but I don't want to downplay her either. She reached ground level to well above escape velocity in around 15 seconds. The computer in Gypsy Danger stated that they were at least 50,000 feet in the air. The escape velocity of Earth is roughly 6 miles, 31,680 feet. To reach escape velocity, it must require a speed of Mach 33, 33 times faster than the speed of sound, which is 761 miles an hour. She's easily massively hypersonic in flight, but she seems to be the only kaiju who can actually fly. But Gamera is already massively hypersonic too. His reaction matches Mach 33 at the very least, since he does fight when he's flying and he's already fought flying kaijus before, like the Gauss. His species was literally made for it. A couple fireballs should do the trick for her. The category 4s do still put up a decent fight to Gamera, especially because of their size, and they're not going to go down in one hit or two. But still, Gamera does clear the category 3 and 4 kaijus. On to the strongest kaijus being category 5. There's actually 3 category 5s, Slattern, Raijin, and the Mega-Kaiju. A lot of people forget that Raijin is a cat 5, even though Herman says it, but I do understand the confusion since Slattern and Mega-Kaiju resemble each other, and Raijin does look like a regular category 4. Now this is obviously when Gamera is going to struggle the most. Raijin is at least island level. He's stronger than cat 4s since they are island level, so he should be at least around large island level. He's very special among the other kaijus in the franchise, mainly due to his ability of kinetic energy absorption. It seems the faceplate is where it needs to be struck in order to absorb the kinetic energy to either empower itself or redirect it back, or at least the most effective area. Its body is already incredibly tough, being able to casually fight the other Jaegers and withstand multiple skyscrapers being smashed on it, and its main faceplate is practically impervious to harm and will only make it stronger. However, simple blunt force is not Gamera's only specialty. Gamera's very proficient in his fireballs and flight. Raijin's strongest organ is actually its weakest. Its face is exposed when it's not using its kinetic absorption ability. There's nothing stopping Gamera from flying around and striking Raijin's exposed face before it could close it up. Even if the fireballs strike the armor and have kinetic energy given to it, There's nothing stopping the burning from the fireballs, and Raijin's not gonna have a chance to strike at Gamera. Even if it does come to close quarters combat, and even though Raijin's a category 5, and it is a pretty strong kaiju, Gamera still surpasses its stats. Sure, Raijin's kinetic absorption is going to be a nuisance, and it may harm Gamera by whacking him with the same force, but I doubt it's going to keep its jaws closed forever, and I doubt it's going to be able to physically overpower Gamera, who withstood the country level explosion and fought on par with Legion, who fought the same Gamera who withstood the attack. So at least country level physical stats against large island level stats. Gamera can simply overpower Raijin. He straight up ripped off Legion's pincers. Not to mention, Raijin can trap people in its jaws and electrocutes them. You know who can absorb electricity? Gamera. So he clears Raijin. Up next is the two strongest kaijus in Pacific Rim, Slattern and the Mega-Kaiju. For them, we'll have to talk about Slattern surviving Striker Eureka's explosion, which, like I said, has multiple different scalings to how strong it was. Calcs ranging from country level to large country, which is around 31 teratons of TNT, to 314 teratons of TNT. This is where you might think Gamera stops at, since he nearly died from a country level explosion point blank, and Slattern took a country to large country level explosion also at point blank and was in better condition than when Gamera was. But what if I told you that still, the Sendai explosion isn't the pinnacle of Gamera's stats? In the prequel comic The Last Hope, one of the Gameras had to self-destruct and destroy Atlantis, an explosion that was not only seen from space but a pretty big spot on the planet. A lower calc had this at around country level, but a higher calc that was also by Godzilla King of the Monsters and other calcs I've seen had this feat at multi-continental, which is 6,120 teratons of TNT. Wouldn't this explosion kill Gamera, however? Isn't this just a last resort that cost him his life? Yes, if Gamera didn't have one last trick up his sleeve, his banishing fist. Gamera's hand was pierced by Iris, and he needed to blast it off to free himself, to create a fist out of mana, and with this fist, he one-shotted Iris. Iris, Legion, and Gamera should be relative to each other. Whether or not you want to debate on if Iris and Legion are stronger, it's up to you, but I do believe they are relative with each other. Being able to one-shot someone requires a power difference between you and the other person to be 10 times. It's a 10 times power difference. Legion fought Gamera physically, who withstood the country level blast, meaning she should be around country level physically. Gamera also gets stronger during each movie, so Gamera 3 should be stronger than Gamera 2, and Iris fought Gamera 3 physically, and it was not an easy fight for Gamera, meaning that at the very least, being able to one-shot a country level being with 10 times the power would put Gamera's banishing fist at the very least large country level. But wait, there's more. Because the Banishing Fist is declared as Gamera's strongest attack, and because Hasted Gamera is obviously stronger than the Gamera that needed to destroy Atlantis with his multi-continent level explosion, then at the very least, Gamera's Banishing Fist is multi-continental plus. There is debate on the energy output of Striker's explosion. I've seen people say that it was a multi-continental attack that Slattern survived. Even if it was, it nearly killed Slattern. It was so damaged by the blast that Gypsy Danger's core was able to finish it off. So even if that blast was multi-continental, I can't see why Gamera wouldn't be able to finish off Slattern after striking him with the Banishing Fist. Hasted Gamera, especially in the third movie, is pretty good with keeping his mana in check. In Gamera 2, he needed to absorb Earth's mana to one-shot Legion, but in Gamera 3, he did not need to waste any time absorbing mana to beat Iris, and after he one-shotted him, he didn't show any signs of being low on mana. He was ready to fight hordes of Gauss right after. This is not like Superman's Solar Flare, where he's burnt out for a while after he uses it. So I'm gonna be honest, I can't see why Gamera can't use the Banishing Fist on him and still finish him off if he survives the initial strike. Even if Slattern survived the initial strike, he's not going to be unscathed, and Gamera is still going to be able to 100% keep on fighting after delivering the strike, either fighting normally or possibly using another Banishing Fist, which I fully believe Gamera is able to do. So if Striker's explosion was country level, Gamera would be able to one-shot with the Banishing Fist or even just the Mana Beam. But even if the explosion was continental to multi-continental, that would only make it much harder for Gamera to beat, but nowhere near impossible. Now let's talk about the Mega-Kaiju. the Chimera of Category 5 Raijin and Category 4's Hakuja and Shrikethorn. It doesn't have a confirmed category, but it's obviously a Cat 5. I can't find any sources stating that the MK is supposed to be stronger than Slattern, which isn't exactly important since its whole purpose is to cause a chain reaction of terraforming the Earth. So at the very least, the MK should be around Slattern's level. But I just don't believe that MK is stronger than Slattern. It doesn't have the feats or statements to back it up. At first, I did kinda downplay MK's durability. I thought that when Gypsy Avenger punched it in half, it was at most a large mountain attack, because in my mind, I thought that since it didn't destroy Mount Fuji, it has to at least be a large mountain attack. But then I started thinking, okay, this thing is literally made up of 2 Cat 4s who should be around large mountain level and a Cat 5 who should be at least island level. There's no way that the output was just large mountain level, and MK should be relative to Slattern, who's clearly way above large mountain level. The calculation I found on Versus Titan Wiki definitely proved my viewpoint wrong, calculating this feat at 395.5 teratons of TNT, which is actually large country level. Now yes, MK did die from this, but we have to realize that its main body is Raijin, who has a weak spot, and out of all places, Gypsy Avenger dived right into that exact weak spot. So it definitely wasn't gonna survive getting struck there, but I still would put MK at around large country level alongside Slattern. And even if MK is stronger than Slattern, and even if Slattern's durability is multi-continental, I still would say that Gamera does have them beat. He's got access to at least one multi-continental plus hit that would deal at the very least critical damage to them both, and he would still have enough in his reservoir to finish them off. In all honesty, the only real advantage they have on him is size, but even then, Gypsy Avenger, who's around 80 meters, was still able to fight MK for a period of time. Now as for speed, I would say that the Kaijus and Gamera are relative to each other. The Kaijus can fight on par with Jaegers. Gypsy Avenger was able to react to a particle beam, and MK was able to fight Gypsy, meaning the speed of the verse should be relativistic or even light speed. Gamera has been able to block Gauss's beam, which is confirmed to be a laser since Heisei Gauss has the same powers as Showa, and Showa's beam is 100% light, so the speed of the verses should honestly be around the same. Gamera has experience of fighting Kaiju first of all. Almost every Kaiju shown has straight up died in their first fight or didn't last much longer in the second. He has flight and range over them, with only one Kaiju being able to fly, which was Otachi, and his fireballs deal heavy damage that can cross hundreds of meters, which I can't figure out how the Kaijus are gonna deal with that. He absorbs energies like electricity and fire along with elements like plutonium and oil to make himself stronger, so even if a Kaiju has an ability like controlling electricity or breathing fire, it's just gonna make Gamera stronger and heal him. He has access to the mana beam, which is already large country level, and should be able to one-shot or deal critical damage to both Slattern and MK if you want to put Striker's explosion at country to large country level. And he can use his Banishing Fist, which is multi-continental, to deal heavy critical damage to them both if you want to put them both at multi-continental. So in conclusion, Heisei Gamera takes the win against the Kaijus of Pacific Rim and cancels the apocalypse just like he was created to do. Gamera, especially Heisei Gamera, really does get underrated in power scaling, especially when you compare him to monsters like Heisei Godzilla, who usually scales to like multi-solar system level and massively faster than light and much higher, but in reality, Heisei Gamera is a lot stronger than you think. I had a lot of fun making this video. I especially love the parallels in this matchup, how the Kaijus were created by the precursors to destroy humanity and terraform the Earth, while Gamera was made by a fallen civilization to protect the Earth and future civilizations like humanity. And the fact that the Kaijus are aliens that are silicon-based organisms, and Gamera has beaten an alien that was a silicon-based organism who also tried to take over the Earth, which was the Legion. I'm giving credits to these calcs I got for Pacific Rim and Uprising, which I'll link in the description, and the Gamera calc from another Gamera matchup video by Goji-Chronic, which had a calc by Godzilla King of the Monsters, who also calced the destruction of Atlantis to be multi-continental on Versus Battle Wiki. Thanks for watching. Tell me what you want to see next. I got the links to my social in the description. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Please be kind to yourself and each other. Thanks for watching.